I am Socrates. I was born in Athens around 470 BCE, in a city pulsating with political and intellectual fervor. My father, Socrates, was a sculptor, and my mother, Phenarete, a midwife. From an early age, I found myself drawn not to the physical crafts of my parents, but to the world of ideas. I roamed the agora, engaging in discussions with anyone willing to converse, from politicians to artisans. My passion for questioning and dialogue would shape my life and legacy. Throughout my life, I embraced the pursuit of truth and wisdom. Unlike the sophists, who taught that truth is relative and often used their skills for personal gain, I sought absolute truths, especially in matters of ethics and morality. My method of inquiry, which later came to be known as the Socratic method, involved asking probing questions that led my interlocutors to examine their own beliefs. This technique often left them in a state of aporia or confusion, forcing them to confront their ignorance. I believe that true knowledge is linked to virtue. If one knows what is right, one will do what is right. This belief was radical in a society that often viewed morality as subjective. My teachings emphasize that wisdom begins with recognizing one's own ignorance, a sentiment I famously articulated. I know that I am intelligent because I know that I know nothing. My personal life was simple and modest. I married Xantippe, who was said to be a spirited woman, and we had 3 children. My marriage was often characterized by conflict, largely due to my preoccupation with philosophy over domestic affairs. However, I regarded my family as part of my ethical duty, believing that one must embody virtue in all aspects of life. Though I often roamed the streets of Athens engaging in discussions, I was known for my disdain for wealth and material possessions. I lived a life of austerity, often going barefoot and wearing simple clothing. My friends and followers often provided for my needs, believing that my intellectual pursuits served a greater purpose for society. My contributions to philosophy are perhaps best understood through my discussions about ethics, virtue, and the nature of knowledge. I posited that the greatest good is the pursuit of the good itself, emphasizing that individuals should strive to cultivate their souls through wisdom and virtue. This idea laid the groundwork for future ethical theories and influenced countless thinkers. I challenged the status quo, asking questions like, "What is justice?" and "What is the good life?" These inquiries were not just academic. They were practical and aimed at improving the lives of my fellow Athenians. My belief that knowledge leads to virtue was a cornerstone of my philosophy. I argued that if individuals truly understood what is good, they would naturally act in accordance with that understanding. In conversations, I often highlighted the importance of self-knowledge, urging my companions to engage in critical self-reflection. My dialogues tackled topics such as piety, courage, and the essence of goodness, pushing the boundaries of Athenian thought and inviting others to do the same. My commitment to questioning societal norms eventually led to my downfall. In 399 BCE, I was brought to trial on charges of impiety and corrupting the youth of Athens. The charges stemmed from my radical ideas and my habit of publicly questioning the wisdom of prominent figures, which made me a target in a city that valued tradition and conformity. During my trial, as recounted by my student Plato, I stood before the jury composed of my fellow citizens, many of whom I had challenged in my discussions. My defense was simple yet profound. I argued that my questioning was a service to the city, encouraging Athenian citizens to reflect on their beliefs and strive for a more virtuous life. I stated, "For I do not think that it is right to be afraid of a little bit of pain." Despite my arguments, the jury found me guilty. The penalty for my perceived crimes was death, and I was given the opportunity to propose an alternative punishment. In a moment of defiance, I suggested that I should be rewarded for my service to the state rather than punished. This only fueled the animosity against me. In the days that followed, I reflected deeply on my impending death. I held firm to my beliefs, asserting that a virtuous life is worth more than mere existence. My final moments were spent in the company of my friends, where I discussed the immortality of the soul and the nature of death. I took my final drink of hemlock with tranquility, stating that I welcomed death as a transition to a new existence. Though my life ended in that Athenian prison, my influence has persisted for centuries. My commitment to the pursuit of truth and the examination of ethical questions laid the foundation for Western philosophy. Through my method of inquiry, I inspired countless thinkers to engage in critical reasoning and self-reflection. I may have left no written works, but my ideas lived on through the dialogues of Plato and the writings of others who followed. My life became a testament to the importance of living a life of virtue, questioning assumptions, and striving for wisdom. In the end, I find solace in the belief that the pursuit of knowledge and virtue is the highest calling. I encourage my fellow Athenians to examine their lives and think deeply about their actions, and I hope that my legacy continues to inspire future generations to seek truth and wisdom in their own lives.